Hey everyone, welcome to another Live with Virginia NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws and the Executive Director of your favorite chapter, Virginia NORML. It's Friday, January 20th, 2023, and that means it's time for us, as always, to talk all things cannabis in the Commonwealth. We're actually here in the registration area for the two fingers, the 2023 Virginia Cannabis Conference. And if you're not down here picking up your badge early, I don't know why not. Everyone's here and is super excited to see you. And they've turned on the air conditioning, so soon I won't be bright red. Listen, the Virginia General Assembly is underway, as you well know, and a number of bills are moving through the session, though nothing too exciting or too fast. There's a lot of bills in the House, and none of them have really been docketed yet. We've done a little bit in the Senate, but it's mostly just moving bills around to, re-referring them to the right committee. So here we are. Oh, hi, Jennifer. Good to see you. Thanks for sticking around. I know I'm late, but we had to get Wi-Fi, and I needed glasses so that I could see. So thanks to Ben for doing that. Hey, Dwayne, good to see you. Good to see you. We'll miss you this week, friend. All right, so let's look at some news. Of course, you can track all the marijuana-related bills moving through the Virginia General Assembly on our website. I'm going to post a comment because Cassidy's working, and I hope I don't break the internet. Yay. Awesome. All right, so this looks like old news. I'm going to get fresh news. We did have some fresh news this week. I talked to the ever delightful Graham Muma at Virginia Mercury. And here is the most excellent article from Graham. Take a look at that. I think it's smart. His title's hilarious. Can Virginia lawmakers find a way to fix the state's weird weed laws? We'll see. We've talked about before, there are a few enforcement bills. You'll hear us refer to them as enforcement just because we need a way to talk about them. And these bills are related to the unregulated products that are proliferating on the market out there. And, it's not that anyone thinks consumers don't deserve access to products, but what consumers deserve is the truth, and what's on the label ought to be what's in the product. And if you're going to light something on fire and inhale it, or if you're going to ingest it or vape it, that probably should go through testing, the same testing requirements that we have in place for the medical program and we'll have in place for the adult use program at some point in time. It's not fair to consumers to take advantage of them using legal loopholes just so you can make a buck off of them. I know a lot of people get bent out of shape when we say that, but we're a consumer lobby. We're not a business association. We don't represent industry interests. We solely represent the interests of consumers, and that includes their health and safety. And you all deserve to be represented just as much as businesses do. When businesses are out there taking advantage of you, it's NORML, and usually only NORML, who's going to step in and step up and stand up for you. So thanks to everyone who's here with us supporting the work that we do. All right, let's see what's going on. Oh, hey, Jason, you have a great comment here. Let's take a look at what Jason has to say. Jason says, when prohibitionists say their concern is too little research exists, why aren't we collectively correcting them with the truth? I assure you, NORML is. Fairly recently released quantitative and qualitative cannabis research. Yeah, so Jason, you bring up a great point. I hope that I'm sure you are subscribed to the NORML newsletter that goes out every Thursday afternoon. You can also catch it again in the Weekend Weed Read, which comes out every Saturday morning. And Jason, you're in Israel. Awesome. So much research is coming out of Israel. Amazing. Definitely sign up to get our newsletter, norml.org/subscribe. You'll never miss a study that comes out. We have somewhere between 4 to 6 studies or papers in every news release that comes out on Thursday. So we are doing that work. It's super important to us. We have an extensive research library available for free on the NORML website, as well as our fact sheets, NORML fact sheets, that condense all this information into easy to digest and easy to use in these sort of conversations that you're talking about, Jason. So thanks very much for bringing that up. Hey, Ellie, great. Let's just dive right into this. So there was a bill introduced, and we had a number of late night conversations, I mean real late night conversations, about this bill last night. So Delegate Les Adams, who otherwise is generally an A-OK dude, introduced this piece of legislation. And our gut instinct is not only is VACA, the Virginia Association of Commonwealth Attorneys, behind this legislation, but also a for-profit company that wants to sell the state some breathalyzer device, which is never going to be a scientifically valid testing protocol for impairment. Now, what these breathalyzers and what these mouth swabs for cannabis do sometimes is demonstrate that there has been consumption within a certain period of time. But far too often what these are going to do is capture people who are not intoxicated. And it's fascinating that suddenly Virginia purportedly has a problem prosecuting DUID. We don't. We talked about this a lot during the marijuana legalization work group. We asked this question on the record so that people who wanted to make this claim, we could point back to it like we're doing right now and say, well, you didn't say you had a problem then. What happens in Virginia right now is if someone's looks like they're driving impaired, they get pulled over, they do a roadside sobriety test, maybe a drug recognition expert's called out. If the person fails and they look impaired, then they would potentially move on to fluids testing. And for cannabis, that means a blood draw. Then the Department of Forensic Sciences, they take a look. Some toxicologist would read the blood report and would come to court and testify. And this testimony with the lab result for the blood draw plus the roadside sobriety test altogether is how they would say, we believe this person, we have reasonable belief that this person was impaired by cannabis. And there's nothing wrong with this methodology. It works. It works in Virginia. It works around the country. Now, what Delegate Adams' bill is looking to is approving the use of saliva and breath testing and establishes a 3 nanogram limit. Now, 3 nanograms doesn't mean anything. It's not a magical number that indicates impairment. It doesn't indicate impairment in any way, shape, or form. And so it's going to capture a lot of people who use cannabis to have better lives, to manage their health symptoms, or who are adults and are allowed to use cannabis in Virginia and know better than to drive impaired. It's a good time for me to go ahead and say, hey, don't drive high. It's stupid and irresponsible. Ellie, so I'm glad you brought that up. And I don't know if Delegate Adams, I assume he does not know how ridiculous this premise is behind this bill. If we actually cared about impairment, if that was our real objective in Virginia and not just getting people, prosecuting them easier or worse for consuming cannabis, if we actually cared about impairment, then we would use impairment testing software that's readily available right now. It's in use around the country in companies and roadside applications. It's deployed on any smart device. And if someone thinks that someone is impaired, then they simply have them take the test. It is an objective test. It's not based on someone's opinion of what they observe. And then the software says, based on, eye movement and response time, it appears that this person may be impaired, and then you move on to fluid testing. So, hey, if that's the real objective, impairment, then you could buy a product right now that would measure for impairment regardless of substance or reason. But that's not the objective. The objective is catching people for using cannabis. And that's pretty obnoxious. So while we will have an action alert up on this next week, I did get a notification today from Action Network that they have finally uploaded all the new email addresses for the Virginia legislature. They have to do that every year, especially when there's elections or redistricting. So that was completed. So now we'll be able to have those action alerts out for you next week. But in the meantime, you can call or email Delegate Adams Delegate Les Adams, please don't email Delegate Don Adams about this. Delegate Les Adams, you could tell him and say, I do not like this bill. I can't support you if you're going to carry this legislation. So do that. All right. Oh, Jason, I see you're in Minneapolis. You're talking about Israeli research. Yes, lots of excellent research is done in Israel on cannabis. Yes, NHTSA has done a number of studies, Jason, relating to traffic safety. You can find all this outlined on the NORML website. In our fact sheet, marijuana and psychomotor performance. And not only does the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and AAA agree that per se thresholds for DUID for THC are not based in science and don't, THC metabolites are not indicative of impairment, but NHTSA has done really excellent studies that indicate that the impairment level from cannabis is lower than most other things. It's like 1.025 times increase. And that's after accounting for more significant factors like age, gender, if you have someone else in the car, are you eating? Are you using the phone? Are you listening to the radio? These really do increase your crash risk. Now, don't mistake me. I'm not saying drive high. Again, that is stupid and irresponsible. But this fantastical nonsense about, we've changed the law, so now people are going to go get high and drive cars is okay. That's not how it happened. We already know that's not what happens. Jennifer, you're funny. Yeah, Dwayne, and it could be even longer. It's not necessarily you consume cannabis and then 8 hours longer. It could be, you'd be fine. It could be days for some people. Hey, other David, good to see you. Hey, Fonz, thanks for bringing up Delegate Helmer's employment protections bill. There was a drafting error, as I mentioned to you in the email, and that the amendment has been prepared for that bill. I've seen the correction. It's fine. It's good to go. The amendment can't be introduced until the bill is docketed, and the substitute would be offered at the very first hearing of that bill in a committee or subcommittee. Delegate Helmer's bill will have to be docketed in order for that to happen, and there's always a possibility that that the bill won't get docketed because he is a Democrat in a Republican-controlled chamber, and it's about cannabis. So put your seatbelts on, everyone. It's going to be great. What was that product called again? Dwayne, the testing one. So I don't have anything to do with this company. I just have seen a lot of their white papers. There's a company called Predictive Safety, and their product is Alert Meter. Now, this is really used in employment applications mostly, but it is the same type of software that's deployed roadside. So you can read about Alert Meter by Predictive Safety on their website. Yeah, safety is a big deal. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm so glad are you watching now, being a nitwit? All right, listen, let's talk about some more newsy news things. All right, so there was this great article by Virginia Mercury. Was that earlier? Was that 2 weeks ago? And I just can't figure out how time works. Great, that's neat. I talked to Seville Weekly on the 18th. Well, I talked to them before that, and they published it on the 18th. And it's okay. I'm not. You know what? I'm going to share it with you all because I would like you all to read and notice how the majority of the conversation in this article is about who gets to make money first or next off of consumers. It's not about you. It's not about your rights as an adult living in Virginia, where marijuana is legal for adults 21 and older. It's not about your ability to access products that are safe and regulated. It's about who gets to make money off of you first. And there's a lot of, anger about this in Virginia, and it's entirely focused on industry. And I think it's comical that, like we talked about this last week, friends, like Connecticut, which legalized after Virginia, Connecticut began sales last week at their existing operators, because that's what states do. Because the priority is not who gets to make money first. It's about giving consumers access to something that's legal. Who's complaining about Connecticut? Right, crickets. Got it. Instead, what we see are these same people that typically whine about this are out there celebrating and high-fiving Connecticut for legalizing. Sorry, I might have gone down a little rabbit hole there. So read that article. Note that I'm the only one who says anything about consumers. Typical. I also talked to WRIC and so many other outlets. Speaking of Connecticut, I did news for Connecticut on this exact issue, and so if you're paying attention, of course you are. You're seeing a lot of news right now about the increase in calls to poison control related to ingestion or accidental ingestion of cannabis products, and this is happening around the country. Of course, Virginia Blue Ridge Poison Control Center was able to provide some very specific numbers about that, and it's really just been an exponential increase here in Virginia. There are two reasons for this increase. First of all, when you change the law, when there's a public policy change, there's also a change in behavior. Because when you aren't afraid of getting arrested or going to jail, you are far more likely to call poison control or seek health care if you or your child or your neighbor or your pet it consumes too much or consumes cannabis inadvertently, right? So we know this happens when laws change, calls increase, because people aren't afraid they're going to be arrested, right? Number two, Virginia specifically, again, let's go back to these unregulated products that are available across the state right now. They're not in childproof packaging. They're not labeled appropriately. They use packaging to look like other, brand names like Doritos or Sour Patch Kids or Skittles or whatever. And people, they think it's that brand and they inadvertently consume it, and then they're, really sick. So that's why in Virginia we're seeing this even higher increases because of these products. We're not seeing people who, went and bought their tin of 10 gelatin cubes from a medical dispensary and then they're calling poison control. We're not seeing that. We're seeing people who are eating weird, unregulated stuff. So that's what's happening. I don't think, Dwayne, necessarily that they're newbies. I think that they're buying unregulated products or they're ingesting them inadvertently because they're labeled to look like brand names like Doritos or Oreos, and they actually contain who knows how much or what intoxicating products. So I did like that piece with WRIC, despite the fact that we did it outside where there was construction, and she looks like she put the camera on the ground and shot up my nose. Anyhow, the words I say are right. Thanks, everyone. So as I mentioned, for those of you who joined us later, we are here in the registration hall for the 2023 Virginia Cannabis Conference. You could be here too. We have registration open today from 4 until 6. For those who register for the welcome reception or have a VIP pass, the welcome reception is here this evening from 7 to 9. And then we start again tomorrow morning. Registration opens at 8. Thank you. I'm looking at someone who's reading the agenda for me. So we feed you. We feed you. You get breakfast, you get lunch, you get a lot of education, and we have an expo hall and lots of cool stuff to see. So, hey, I don't know why you're not here. Thank you, Liz, for opening the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Badge pickup starts at 9 tomorrow. I don't know why I wanted everyone to get up really early. Oh, my staff turned around and looked at me like I was crazy. I hear you snorting. All right. So, some new comments. Let's see what's up. Hey, James. We will have fun. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I guess Fawn's new to cannabis. Yeah, and that's the thing, Fawn's. I mean, your point is valid, but that's the problem. That's one of the problems with purchasing unregulated products. Now, there are some people out there who are making quality products, who are lab testing them, who are labeling them, despite the fact that they don't have to. We're not saying those people don't exist. We're saying that when you buy it at the gas station, or you buy it in some like crowded, smoky basement, you don't know what that is. You don't know. And when you have a seizure, you're going to call us and be like, this was a bad idea. And we're like, yeah. Why don't you take that to a lab and get it tested, man? Anyhow. John Painter. Yeah, exactly, Marcus. Exactly. And when you go to a regulated dispensary, you're going to get that education. If you go to the medical dispensaries right now, you are interfacing with pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. You have a true healthcare experience. And when we have adult use retail, we will have required patient education available. So you'll get education when you purchase the products. Not that someone's going to sit there and give you a class, but you'll get it with your purchase. So yeah, it's almost like we've been regulating cannabis in the United States for over 2 decades and aren't making it up as we go. I'm very excited today because, the conference. Yeah, exactly, James. Exactly. And yes, Marcy, exactly, Marcy. Be responsible. If you don't know how to be a responsible cannabis consumer, listen, we've got your back here at NORML, not because we think you should be irresponsible, but because we have NORML's principles of responsible use. I'm trying to open this up for you. Here it is. We should start out every show with this. There you go. Hey, Mark, you know what? Here in Virginia, we do let people grow their own. Adults 21 and older can grow up to 4 plants per household. Again, because we write good policy when we're at the helm. So you do have that luxury here in Virginia to most people have the luxury, have the ability to cultivate. Of course, it is entirely problematic that people who don't own their home may be prohibited from cultivating for personal use. This is an issue around the country, not just specific to Virginia. I think we would disagree, Mark, that we do. Look, I can grow tomatoes, and I do grow tomatoes. I'm pretty good at it. You put them outside in the dirt and then they grow. But I still buy them at Publix. And, the good news is in Virginia, you have a choice. You can cultivate your own, but not everyone can do that. Not everyone has a green thumb or has the money to do that, or the space or the time or whatever it is. And so we do need places where people can go purchase products. Okay, we're done having this conversation. Look, whatever, man. You do you. We're going to make sure that people have access to products that are safe, convenient, and affordable, because that's what we do. Anyhow. What else? Anything else? No? This has lasted longer than I thought it would. No, Mark, we are a nonprofit. It's like right there on our website. We don't make any money off of anybody because we're a nonprofit. We don't sell cannabis either. We just change laws. Hey, Bart. Any idea the price range for retail licenses and if there will be caps? Will there be a lottery? I don't think we'll have a lottery in Virginia. It's entirely possible that we could, but that's not what we've seen in the legislative efforts over the past 3 general assemblies now. Third bite at the apple this year. Yeah, so what will the prices be? They will not be the same fees that you saw for the medical program. The medical program was, drafted back in 2016. It was under an entirely Republican-controlled General Assembly. It was like the dark ages back then. That's why we have limited licensure, vertical integration, and what people think is a high fee, but really, given what it was only a $10,000 application fee for that limited licensure model. So it was actually not that bad, but it's not going to be like that in adult use, and there won't be a vertical integration requirement either. So depending on the type of license, you're likely to see a number of licensing fees, smaller fees for smaller licenses. Thank you for asking, Bart. You can see the bills, Bart, on the Virginia NORML website. Go to vanormal.org and then click on policy and click on the bill tracker for this year. You can see the adult use bills right at the top because it's alphabetical, and you can see any proposed licensing fees in there. Now, none of these bills have passed, so it doesn't really matter. They're setting up for tonight's reception. But you can kind of get a general idea of where they're at. Amy, you're welcome. Right, Marcy? You got to do what you got to do. People who have seizure disorders who need specialized preparations, maybe they don't have that expertise or a lab at home. Yeah, more patients need consultations, and fortunately we have that available here in Virginia, not only from healthcare providers who specialize in medical cannabis, but also at the dispensaries themselves. Any patient who's at a dispensary can talk to a pharmacist to ask more questions. Sherry, you would just contact me. Since I'm the development director at NORML and the executive director at Virginia NORML, just I'm that guy. Fred, I think that's funny, which is why I'm showing it, but also I understand that people will freak out if their pet or kids accidentally ingest something. Yeah, Marcy, I've heard that too, that peppercorns supposedly help, but I don't think you want your dog or your kids chewing on those. Probably. David, I don't know who told you that. They're making it up if they're telling you that. There's no reason to believe, particularly right now, since we haven't even gotten into any policy debate this year around adult use. There's no reason to believe if someone's telling you it's going to be $1,000. I mean, you can read what's in the bill, but we haven't even debated the bills, so I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, we do not. I mean, I understand that some nonprofits make a lot of money, but we don't. I thought that anyhow. I thought we blocked that guy. Oh, hey, Banks. Thanks for I saw your email come in, and I just, with it being session, I haven't had a chance to respond. Can a single residential occupancy rooming house be considered multiple households? I would think that is that a multi-resident unit? That's probably something we could look up for you in code. And I'm going to shout across the hall at Cassidy and be like, hey, Cassidy, can we find out if a single residential occupancy and SRO rooming house is considered multiple households? I know we're not necessarily going to know that off the top of our heads, but like a boarding house. Yeah, right? Am I getting it right, Banks? Is that right? That should be something like an apartment. Is it I would think it's like an apartment type situation. So, we'll have to look. We'll dig into code and see. Feel free to send us another email though, so it's back up at the top of our inbox. Thanks, David. You're doing a great job too, friend. I would think so.
I would think it would be considered like an apartment, but I can check those before I get
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Blue Ridge. Can't wait to see you at the conference tomorrow. Hey, Dennis. So we, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws is what we're going to stick with. But, you know, people ask us about other substances all the time. If you are interested in the emoji that you were showing us in the comments, then I suggest you reach out to Delegate Dawn Adams, though her bill has already been tabled for the session. I think Senator Hashmi has a similar bill, but those are the folks that you ought to work with on that. Thanks for asking, Dennis. Yeah, Marcy, that's why Delegate Adams, a healthcare provider, was so interested in that bill. Oh, Pantel, I am reading your question right here. Oh, that's, okay. Pantel, you're welcome to email me directly about that at chapters@normal.org, which Cassidy is also going to get, and that's why she's making eyes at me. Not those kind of eyes, the mean kind. But Pantel, I really do care about this, even though I'm not going to show it. I thank you for bringing that up, and you can absolutely email us at chapters@normal.org, because that's weird, and I would not enjoy that experience myself. That looks like a sketchy thing that maybe we just block that user. Looks weird. Yeah, Banks, we're going to find out for you. We're going to look into that. So, all right, friends. I need water. Hey, as always, thanks. All right, this has been a super fun time. I can't wait to do it again next Friday, assuming we're not in the middle of a hearing. I hope we aren't. Yeah, so hey, before we check out, why don't you go ahead and hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. And I can't wait to see all of you here at the 2023 Virginia Cannabis Conference. See you tomorrow, Charlie. I can't wait, buddy. All right, everyone. This has been a pleasure as always. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.